Greetings to the officially unofficial Geek Channel audience. This is Carrie. As always, I am here to share with you a new little segment we've got going on the channel. A little, like mini series kind of thing. Recently, I acquired Starz again on my TV as a subscription, like a little subscription to the app kind of thing. And a television show that happens to be on Starz that has got my attention, has garnered my imagination and gotten my love is a little TV show called Outlander. Outlander is based off of a book series by Diana Gabaldon. Starting with the first book, they are some long ass books, and I have actually read the first book. Not read any of the others. I started the second one in this series. The first one being just Outlander, the second one being Dragonfly and Amber. I started Dragonfly and Amber, but I have not finished it. It is still kind of sitting on my TBR, and to be honest, it intimidates me with the length. Even though I did get through Outlander, the first book in the series, sometimes books of great length intimidate me because I am a milestone reader, as in, like, if I sit down and I read, I prefer to have the time to, it doesn't always work out this way, but to have the time to devote to read a chapter in one sitting. And I like to be like, if I start a book, read a chapter at least when I sit down and read in one sitting. And also I like to finish a book in a month time period. So when you look at a book that's long and everything, there's a little bit of an intimidation factor when you're battling against the kind of mindset that I have typically when I'm reading novels. And that kind of also crosses over into my graphic novel reading. So, like, if I'm reading a trade paperback or a hardcover of a comic series storyline or a mini series, I typically do not like to sit down and read if I can't get through at least the equivalent of one issue of a comic series. Now, that's a problem I have. I don't know if any of you also have it, but it's a problem I have. But anyways, it would be why I find books like the Outlander series books so intimidating. It's also why I find books like the Song of Ice and Fire books intimidating. Which, again, I have experienced the first book of that series, but not any of the others to this point, because they intimidate me. However, I have read, or I have watched, rather, pretty much all of Outlander has to offer. There's a couple episodes that I have to catch up on from the previous most recent season that I didn't quite finish. But other than that, I am up to date, so to speak. So this series that we're doing here is, a lot of people consider the time period, the fans of Outlander consider the time period between the end of a last season and the beginning airing of a new season called the Droughtlander. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use that. We're going to use the idea of Droughtlander to base what we're doing here. another inspiration for wanting to do this, besides the fact that I have the Starz of app available to me at this present time, is also we just recently got a little bit of a teaser trailer for season 7. So they're not giving off a specific date for the start of the season. However, it is saying right now they are saying it's going to be summer of 2023. So right now it's January. I got plenty of time to do this. And I decided it'd be fun. It'd be fun to do a little rewatch of this show. Now, a lot of times when I'm watching shows, Joe will join me. However, Joe considers this a show that he is not interested in, which is fine. That's a-okay. You guys got me. He refers to this as my kissy show. Because yes, there is a lot of kissy business in the show. So one, we're dealing with a period show, all around period show. Right off the get-go, notice that there are things that happen in the show that involve values that typically are probably not, well, I would say definitely not seen as acceptable values to have by decent people, what I would consider decent people in today's day and age. But it is something that the show does not stray away from. I will tell you that. There's some very uncomfortable things that happen in Outlander. There is instances of attempted and committed sexual assault abuse. So a trigger warning, content warning is appropriate. So with that in mind, always practice self-care when making the decision to indulge in anything, if you do not feel like this is kind of what you want to watch or listen to, believe me, I understand, and always practice self-care. It does not matter whether I understand or not. So I guess what I'm trying to get at, guys, is we're going to possibly talk about some bad stuff that happens to characters in the show. So this whole portion is going to be a lot quicker with any other video that I do for Droughtlander. But I'm taking a little bit extra special care with this because I typically do have people that listen to my videos and listen to them, regularly, or watch them regularly. So, content warning, practice self-care, you were special, you were important, everything like that. I really feel like I might not be saying enough here, but I think you guys get the overall gist of what I'm getting at. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead. Let's talk about, today we're going to talk about episodes 1, 2, and 3 of season 1. The original, let's just start from the beginning. The first episode I'm going to do my best to do only light spoilers in this so that if you want to go and you want to experience Outlander for yourself, it's not going to be at all like ruined. Some things we're going to have to talk about. And give a little detail, or else whenever I'm explaining certain episodes, it's hard to explain certain things that happen and give a synopsis or anything like that about episodes in this without giving you a little bit of a spoiler right in that first episode when you talk about it. So the first episode originally aired on August 9th, 2014. And the name of the episode is Sassenach. Now, if you're not familiar with the term Sassenach, that basically is referred to anyone that is not native to the land of Scotland. Okay? And so this is a period piece in a few different ways. We have, when we join our main character, Claire Randall, she is, excuse me, let me get a drink of water. She has just gotten off the front lines as a World War II combat nurse. This is in 1945, I believe. Her husband also served with the Royal Army as a spy and trained spies as well. But she was a World War II combat nurse on the front lines, and the war has just ended, and her husband haven't seen much of each other for 5 years approximately. And so now that before he begins a new job at a university as a history teacher, because that's his trade, they decide they're going to take a little trip. They're both English. Okay, first off, they're both English, as in jolly old England, the UK. They decide they're going to take a little trip to Inverness in Scotland. Not only to kind of like have a little like second honeymoon, reconnect, but Frank Randall, Claire's husband, is looking to do a little family tree research about his direct ancestor, Captain Black Jack Randall. This is going to become important later. The idea of Captain Jack Randall, Black Jack Randall, of the British Army. Okay. But, so they're there for two reasons. They're there to reconnect and have a little vacation before he starts his new job, and also because they're hanging out with a friend of his that is a vicar that also is a historian, and he's getting information about the history around his family. And Claire's along for the ride. She's, hanging out, having fun, and doing what she can to reconnect with her husband. One of the things that they go and they do is they actually are there during the festivals related to Samhain, which is the holiday that coincides with Halloween. And they find out that there's like this set of standing stones nearby where they're staying, and they hear of an upcoming pagan ritual group of pagans, pagan women. They could be practitioners of Wicca, that kind of thing. They're going to be doing a little ceremony at these standing rocks, and they hear about it, and they're like, oh, this is going to be like right before daybreak, going into dawn. And they decide that they're going to go and they're going to hide and watch this. Because they're curious. They're curious of cultures besides their own. I think that maybe they probably should have asked rather than just sitting there as spectators. But whatever. So they go to watch this, and this is one of the things where like they've it isn't like they got there, talked about history, and then went and watched the Standing Stones. Like they're actually talking about starting their family. They very much love each other. They're very devoted to each other. Because the narration is done by Claire, that she is very much committed to the relationship. She's very much committed to trying to start a family with her husband, get on with life, and all this stuff. So, like, while he's researching all this stuff, he's showing her, like, different parts of some ruins of a castle. He's showing her, like, different rock formations and, like, talking about history stuff, and they're having fun together. So then they go and they're going to watch this ceremony, this ritual. And they go and they watch the ritual. And she notices that since when she was in the front lines of WW2, she has started getting interested in holistic natural remedies, like studying plants and how they can help heal. Right? This is something that people have been doing throughout time. You hear that she didn't have a very traditional raising and that kind of thing. So she's very interested in this. Her husband supports what she's doing. He's into it. And she sees this flower that is there, and she decides that she wants to come back and find a flower because she thinks it's something that she's been looking for in her studies. And her husband's like, okay, great, I'm going to go and I'm going to be doing some stuff with my research. You go ahead, take the car, do that. So she does that, right? She takes the car. She goes back to where the Standing Stones are. Craig Nadoon is what it's called. And she goes to find the flowers. Well, at a certain point, she hears this sound, and she's drawn to this middle Standing Stone. And she touches the stone. Well, what happens is, when she touches the stone, it kind of knocks her out. And when she wakes up, this is, when she touches the stone, it's 1945, Inverness, Scotland. When she touches the stone and she gets knocked out, she wakes up, and it is 1743. Not as in military time, as in the year 1743. Okay? Same spot, but the year is completely different, guys. So what happens is she wakes up in the middle of a little bit of an altercation between Scotland Highlanders and the British Army. She gets into an altercation. She gets involved in the altercation and ends up, basically, she ends up meeting someone that surprises her completely. And we can go ahead and tell you who she meets. She ends up right away meeting Captain Jack Randall, which, if you remember, is her husband's ancestor. They have an altercation, and somehow she ends up being pulled away from that by the group of Highlanders, and she's taken away by them, and ends up in like a little like hiding place with them. And she ends up, obviously she's an English woman with an English dialect. She ends up in the middle of all this. She's witnessed having this interaction with Jack Randall. She now all of a sudden is able to give them healing advice when they have a man, Jamie, who has a horribly dislocated shoulder. There's a lot of mystery surrounding Claire, and by this time Claire has figured out, I am not actually where I was before. She knows that some weird thing has happened, and she is not in Kansas anymore, so to speak, okay? And at this point, because of what she might be and what she might know, basically the Highlanders are taking her with them. Call it a kidnapping if you want to. I guess you could. You could call it kidnapping, because she really did not want to go. All she wanted to do was get back to Inverness, get back to the Standing Stones. She wanted to try to figure out some way to get back to Frank. And for the first few episodes of the entire series, it's all about finding a way to get back to Frank. She's not sure how, but she's wanting to find a way. Nothing has really occurred to her at this point as to how she does that, but she ends up on the back of a horse with Jamie Fraser, which is one of the Highlanders, and they start making their way back to their home, which is where they're headed in episode 2. So episode 2, the title's called Castle Leoch. It first aired on August 16th, 2014, where basically this is the journey that they're taking to Castle Leoch. They make it to Castle Leoch. She gets introduced to everyone there, like Mrs. Fitzgibbons, the laird of the estate, which is Colum Mackenzie. And Colum Mackenzie has a little bit of a health issue. And they discover that she is a healer. Really, all she wants is she has to explain who she is to them. And so she talks about and she gives them information about who she is, but she, of course, leaves out the part about being from 1945. And she asks them for help involving getting back to Inverness to try and find where she's going. When she tells them she's trying to get to France, blah, 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 he's just like, okay, well, we have somebody that's going to be coming. They're going to, after they leave here, they can give you a transport to Inverness, no problem. But until then, just hang out. And as my personal guest, have fun, all that. However, she's being followed, and two, she can't help but use her medical skills while she's there. And they're like, okay, so either this woman we want her here because she's a spy and we want to make sure to keep her at bay, or we want her to stay to use her healing abilities and be kind of like our little like school nurse, so to speak, use her powers of it as a healer, use her knowledge. I read too many comic books. Use her knowledge as a healer, to be kind of like their healer, at the estate. And so the day comes when she's supposed to be like, okay, time to go. They're like, oh, by the way, the dude already left. We're not letting you leave until we figure out exactly what's the deal with you. And yeah, while you're here, you might as well, do that healing stuff you do so well and all that. So obviously she's been kidnapped. She's being held prisoner, but they're also, this is 1743 Scotland. So if you know anything about the history there, if you don't, look up the Jacobite rebellion, Scottish Highlanders of that time period. Look up the actual history things of the Battle of Culloden. Google it. It's, yeah. That will definitely give you a little insight into what you're dealing with here. And because there are very real history moments from within the show plot. My recommendation is to take that as an opportunity to learn about the history of that time period, of that place, because it's interesting. Okay, so we're going to move on here to episode 3, which is called The Way Out. It originally aired August 23rd, 2014. So Claire ends up meeting a woman that does work with herbs and plants as well. Her name is Galis. And Galis is a little bit odd, but she makes friends with Claire pretty easily. Claire makes friends with her. There's just something about Galis that she likes, okay? And she finds out about these children that are getting sick, particularly after they visit this one place. Well, this is 17 43, cannot stress this enough, guys, but we still have the whole instances of people thinking that somebody that's really sick is just, it's the devil. The devil is everywhere. The devil does all that shit. And it's a big deal. The devil's doing everything, guys. You know, the devil is making that kid sick, and the kid is possessed with Satan. And one kid actually dies. Like, there's a kid, this is how Claire finds out about it, is there's a kid that dies, and Claire's like, there's a kid that gets sick soon after that. And she figures out a connection with Jamie's help. Who Jamie, like, man, I have not mentioned Jamie enough. Jamie is a constant friend and companion to Claire, and I should really get used to mentioning Jamie in these videos, because Jamie is a big deal of the show. Spoiler, you'll find out. She finds out plenty of information about Jamie throughout these 3 episodes. And Jamie is like her BFF, besides Galus. And with Jamie's help, she finds out and has a good idea of exactly why these kids are actually falling ill and dying. And she figures it out. It has all to do with a plant that they're misidentifying, that they think is edible. However, it is not. And so she bursts on in to this kid's home, where the priest that hates women is trying to rid Satan from him, so when he dies, he'll go to heaven. And Claire's like, you know, but what if he doesn't have to die, and I can help them? And the priest gets pissed off that the women in the household shove him off and let Claire do her thing. And it actually helps the kid. Spoiler alert, it helps the kid. And the thing is it's one of those things where it's like, she's been trying to get people okay with the idea of her leaving so that she can leave, right? And try to figure out what to do about being in 1743. But yet she cannot help from being a healer and helping people. This one makes people more scared of her on the bad end, and on the still bad end, but more agreeable side of things, she's become even more indispensable to the whole entire group. So, thus making it all the more harder for her to get out of the situation she's in and get back to whatever, trying to figure out how to fix the situation she's in. Which, by the way, right now, she has no freaking clue how to fix this situation, except for the fact that she feels like if she goes back to where she was, she might be able to figure it out. Like, talk to someone, you know, and try to, you know, get information about the stones or whatever. And she has no clue at this point what the hell she's going to do. She just knows that she doesn't want to be there. She just knows that she wants to be with her husband, Frank. And come hell or high water, she's going to make it back to him. So right now we have Claire, the very unwilling healer, but yet can't help but be who she is stuck in the situation, stuck in 1743. She's making friends, but she's also making enemies along the way. And we will cut off the recording now. We're going to go ahead and cut off this episode at the end of episode 3, which next time we're going to talk about the next 3 episodes in the series for Droughtlander here, for Outlander, which those are season 1, episode 4, 5, and 6. I think that's pretty much what I'm going to do. There's a possibility I might include episode 7 on that, considering what I know about the series. It's kind of a little bit of a good... it's a better stopping off point for the video than for the show, rather than episode 6. But I will consider both. So if you want to keep up, go ahead and watch through episode 7. And if we go ahead and we go as far as episode 7, you'll be ready. Like I said, I'm trying to stay as spoiler free as possible, omitting the big moments in the show, so you can still experience them for yourself. However, there are certain things about the show that if I don't mention them that are big, then it's hard to explain the other ones, such as Claire going through history, time traveling through history through the stones. Big moment, but you have to mention it, or else discussion about anything else that happens from that point is impossible. But anyways, guys, that is it for right now. If you like Outlander, if you like what I'm doing, let me know in the comments. If you're new here, please, like, subscribe, share, comment. Let me know what you like about Outlander, and let me know what you're excited to see in the upcoming season, but try to be spoiler free as possible. Anyways, guys, that's it for this episode, episode, whatever, of Droughtlander, Outlander season 1, episodes 1 through 3. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be seeing you guys until next time. Bye!